Welcome to WebRTC Live. In WebRTC Live, we cover the latest technical topics and business use cases for WebRTC and live video. As always, this episode is brought to you by WebRTC.Ventures, leading integrators of WebRTC video into your custom application.
All right, welcome back to WebRTC Live and WebRTC Standards. It's been a while since we've put an interview up on this site, so I'm going to start today's episode by explaining why. Don't worry, Alberto and myself on your screens, we are not pirates, even though we have taken over the ship here at WebRTC Standards. I want to start the show by thanking Dan Burnett and Amir Zamora, who started WebRTC Standards, and everyone who's been a guest on this webinar series over the years. It's been a while since there's been any new content because Dan and Amir needed to move on to other projects. My name is Arin Sime. I'm the CEO and founder of WebRTC.Ventures. If you've been watching these series for a while, you might recall that we've been a sponsor of the program for a long time. And so we agreed to continue producing these videos. And we're going to continue to bring the same sort of high-quality content that you loved in past webinars with WebRTC Standards. And so as we relaunch this, we're going to make a couple of changes for the next few months from what you're used to in the past, and we'll see how this goes. So we definitely welcome all feedback. First, we're going to be keeping these episodes short, 15, 20 minutes total. Each episode will have a guest. The topics will still relate to WebRTC and live online video. We are going to try and have a broader range of guests and topics over time, and still always related to video, but a broader range of guests and topics than in the past. And since we're doing these as shorter episodes, we're going to try and produce more of them for you. So for the rest of 2019, you can expect to see a new episode of WebRTC Standards of the WebRTC Live webinar here on Crowdcast about every 2 to 3 weeks. So my company, WebRTC.Ventures, will continue to sponsor these as we have in the past. So you'll see some standard intros and outros in the edited videos that we post to YouTube later. And you'll see us mention our custom design and development services that we do at WebRTC.Ventures for our clients building live video applications. But the intent of these webinars is to be educational, not to be a sales pitch, and to appeal to a broad audience of WebRTC developers and video use case innovators. So after we record each of these episodes live on Crowdcast, we'll do some light editing and then post them to YouTube, to the WebRTC Ventures blog, and social media. So you'll have more opportunities to view the content that we produce. And again, definitely welcome your feedback on the new format. So that's enough introduction for now. Let's get to today's guest. Alberto Gonzalez here with me is a senior engineer here at WebRTC Ventures. And at times you might see Alberto or others from our team hosting WebRTC Live in addition to myself. For today's kind of soft relaunch of WebRTC Live, Alberto is going to tell us about his recent presentation at ClueCon. So, Alberto, thanks for joining us today. First, can you tell us a little bit about the ClueCon conference, what it's like?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you for inviting me to having me as the first guest. So, yeah, it was recently, last week, we were invited to a conference in Chicago called ClueCon. And, well, ClueCon is a conference pretty different than the typical corporate or just marketing stuff kind of conference. This is more of a developers conference. It's built by developers for developers. So everybody there is knowledgeable about WebRTC, VoIP. It's a mix of real-time application developers and telephony engineers. And originally it was built by the team of FreeSwitch. So they have been sponsoring that. But a lot of other companies, of course, are also helping there.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds like a great conference for sure. And we see a lot about it on Twitter while ClueCon's going on. So yeah, definitely great event to check out anytime you get a chance in person. And so your presentation there was about live video with Raspberry Pi, right? So, so for the next part of this episode, you're going to give us a short, maybe 10-minute summary of that. So go ahead and share your screen.
Yep.
And take over.
Yeah, it was about, it combines several things. Some of the projects we do at WebRTC.ventures of live streaming combined with some new technologies, in this case, AI. And I just went through that. The first thing that I talk about is live streaming, which is a really hot topic, and we have seen a lot of use cases in built in from by our company, and also outside. There are also huge companies like Twitch or others that are, or HQ Trivia. There are a lot of live streaming applications today that have been growing really fast, and we have experienced that ourselves as service providers. One thing that also I talk about is what are the typical protocols that you can use for live streaming and what people used to use in the past and today, and how WebRTC is actually one of the, I would say maybe today is the most common protocol for live streaming, and HLS as well. But I also went through these three typical protocols, which RTMP, for example, it's pretty good for low latency for live streaming, but had some issues because we needed to use a plugin on the client, and that's pretty annoying. Like, who is using Flash today? So it's still a common use case, but that's one of the issues it has. Then there is HLS, which works everywhere. It's also TCP based, but has a high latency. And then there is the technology, our technology of choice for low latency applications, where it's UDP based. So usually it's sent quicker than TCP, and also works on all the major browsers, which is something that is really useful for us to have applications, real-time apps built quick. So from here, from live streaming, I then pass to describe how an application can be built using native WebRTC, using media servers, and using communication platforms. And then I went through each of them and saying, okay, probably this second one is, I skipped the first one, which is native, and usually not a good idea to implement. But we have also the media servers, which is something that we usually use for WebRTC live streaming, which brings us to the another question is, where do we implement AI if we want to add image segmentation or image detection? Where can we do that if we use a media server? And I went through that, talking about the different frameworks that are out there for machine learning. Of course, I'm not an expert in machine learning, so I spoke from the point of view of someone with a lot of experience in WebRTC applications and real-time applications, and starting to play around with AI. And it was pretty interesting to do that in a Raspberry Pi, in a low CPU device. So basically the goal of my presentation and demo was to have what I'm showing right here. So a Raspberry Pi device live streaming and doing some image detection and sending that video live as it is happening right now in this live streaming. So there are very interesting. Of course, this presentation is the whole presentation is recorded in the ClueCon channel, but there were some interesting results and information here. In this case, for example, about the latencies based on the framework used for the Raspberry Pi, and I mainly focus on doing some research using media server Curento and Janus for live streaming, and including there some machine learning. What I'm going to do now is to go ahead and show the video, the demo that is about 2 minutes video that just describes the 2 demos I did and some of the results I got there. So yeah, here I'm going to go through the process. First, talk about implementing that in Janus and then in Curento, because those are some alternative solutions. So you can use one or the other, but not well together. Could be done, but doesn't make sense since both achieve the same goal, which is do convert one stream and send it to many peers connected. So the Raspberry Pi had some issues in the CPU, and of course, when you run machine learning on the client, things doesn't look very smooth. In this case, I'm showing a peer-to-peer video communication, but it's you can see the received video. It's missing some frames, and to improve quality, we did OpenCV processing. So we did machine learning on the server where the media server is. At the beginning, I had a lot of issues. As you see, the quality now looks a bit bad and it's breaking. Like we are missing frames, as you see now. We skip a lot of frames and we were getting higher than 2 seconds latency. And this is happening because exactly this image here. So we are each processing for a frame, it takes about 50 milliseconds to process, which is a pretty high number. We take into account that a whole sending the video stream and receiving it can take about 200 milliseconds or 300. So if you add 50 just to process the frame, you're going to miss a lot of them, and you will get those results. Then what we did later, we improved. I played around with OpenCV and GStreamer, so there are a lot of configuration parameters that you can change. And in this case, I'm optimized is much better. Like the image looks clear, and the detection is also better than even the thing working on the client. That's here I'm showing the frame, the time it takes per frame to process, and we reduce it more than 50%. So at that time, when you reach less than 30 milliseconds per frame, you will start to be able to see the live stream properly, and the bit rate. It was interesting to see that actually the bit rate didn't influence too much. So if you increase the bit rate of the video, the latency was pretty much the same. And here I was doing the same in Curento. In this case, what's much easier because Curento already has some plugins for streaming directly, and I just connected different projects from Curento basically. So there is a live streaming application. You use the pipelines. Oops, that already finished. If you want, I can. If it was too first, I can go through it. But at the end, yeah, Curento was doing pretty much the same, doing image detection, face detection, sorry, and adding a mask on top of it. But that's actually configurable, and you could build your own plugin for Curento, and it works very similar to the one I built for Janus. It's using OpenCV for machine learning for detection. And yep, I don't know if.
Nice. No, that's great. And I noticed also that you did the image detection or face detection AI did properly distinguish the difference between you and your cat.
Yeah.
In one part of that, which is nice.
Yeah, it just I went.
That means your beard hasn't grown out too much if it's not confusing you for the cat. So that's good.
It only detects persons. This one. If you want to detect cats, for example, OpenCV doesn't have something out of the box. You will need, for example, with TensorFlow, that would be easier. There's a lot of demos with that. So if you use TensorFlow, or you can integrate both. So you could use TensorFlow and integrate it inside OpenCV and then detect cat faces.
Right. Nice. That's great. So in the chat here on Crowdcast, I just posted a link to a blog post we have on WebRTC.Ventures, which is first in a series of blog posts that you're doing based on this same presentation that you did at ClueCon, and the videos available online as well to learn more. And certainly for anybody who's interested to learn more about this, you're welcome to contact us at WebRTC.Ventures, and Alberto can answer some questions there too. So the next presentation that you're doing, your next conference appearance will be in Chicago. I'll be there with you. You'll be at the TAD Summit Americas, which is at the Illinois Institute of Tech. And that's going to be part of a great weekend of TAD Hack and a week of the real-time conference, different events from October 12th through 16th. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you'll be presenting on at that conference?
Yeah, sure. It will be related with sign language in the call centers. So basically, how you can improve the call center implementation for the people that is deaf of hearing or have other communication problems and need maybe a video for it. And actually, we have done some work inside in our company in some projects, specifically one that we use Currento, and I will be talking about how we implemented that, and yeah, that's pretty much what we will be talking about there.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, thanks, Alberto. So that'll be an interesting talk at the TAD Summit on Currento and video in the call center for sign language interpretation. So that just about wraps up this relaunch of WebRTC Live and WebRTC Standards. So you can, just a couple closing notes here, you can watch rebroadcasts of old episodes at WebRTCstandards.info and on our Crowdcast page. We'll be posting this episode to the WebRTC Ventures site and social media next week with some edits, and we'll do that with every episode thereafter. So if you want to keep up with our upcoming events, you can definitely join our email list at WebRTC.Ventures, and we'll keep you posted about that. Our next episode of WebRTC Live is scheduled to be recorded live on Thursday, August 29th, 2019 at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll do that again right here on Crowdcast. In that episode, I'll be speaking with Bernard Oboba, principal architect from Microsoft. We'll be talking about leveraging the new features of WebRTC 1.0. So that's going to be really interesting. Definitely don't miss that. Bernard's talk will also be a preview of what he'll be discussing at an upcoming conference I hope you can attend, in which we already referenced. I have the honor this year of chairing the WebRTC track of the Illinois Institute of Technology's real-time conference, real-time communications conference, which they hold every year in Chicago. This year, the conference will be October 14th through 16th. And there will also be an associated TAD Hack the previous weekend, the 12th and 13th, and the TAD Summit. A lot of great real-time events. You can learn more about that at rtc-conference.com, rtc-conference.com. So go ahead, register there. And between now and October, between now and that conference, our upcoming episodes of WebRTC Live will focus on some of our other excellent speakers that we'll be having at the conference, such as Alberto and Bernard. So join us for that. And just sign up for our mailing list at WebRTC.Ventures or register for those upcoming events on Crowdcast as we post them. So thanks for joining us today, and let's make it live. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for WebRTC Live. Visit our website at WebRTC.Ventures to learn more about our custom design and development services, and to learn more about upcoming episodes of WebRTC Live.